to educate, motivate, and build one another through shared knowledge and success. This is the Young and Successful Podcast, and these are your hosts, Che Chukwi and Kenny Awashika.
Welcome back to the Young and Successful Podcast. Our guest today is Mr. Gus Hamden. Mr. Gus is the founder and CEO of Improve Remodeling, a home improvement company dedicated to providing you with the best products and services from anywhere convenient to you. Mr. Gus, thank you for taking the time to hang out with us today.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's a great honor to be here, hanging out with the big brains. I really appreciate the invite.
Thank you for taking the time.
We appreciate it. You're one of the big brains as well here, sir. So give us a little bit more about you. Tell us a little bit about Gus and Improve Remodeling.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit about my background. I worked in retail for decades, worked for some of the biggest retailers in the country, such as CVS and Macy's.
Right.
About 12, 13 years ago, I got to a point where, I just didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted, to shift the career and, just something different that I can enjoy a little bit more. Not that I wasn't enjoying the service that I was providing for my, customers, but I just wanted something different. And, I discovered home improvement because, I always like working with my hands, always like, building things, even though I didn't really get to experience that side of the business too much. And we can elaborate and so you can understand a little bit why in a little bit. But,
right.
But I love seeing the project and seeing things transform. I like, seeing, when people's eyes light up with that wow factor. And so to me, I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. And so again, 13 years ago, I discovered home improvement, started working for one of the bigger companies in the area. I started as a sales rep, went through a lot of extensive training. I basically had to learn everything from scratch and get myself up to speed, and obviously continuous training and so on and so forth as things, get better, progress. Stayed with that company for about 5 years. We got into a disagreement. I ended up leaving and very quickly got recruited by another big company that I worked for about 6 or 7 years. And,
right.
I started as a sales rep and then worked my way up to a vice president of sales and marketing, as well as production with them. Until right before COVID is when I really started thinking about branching out, starting on my own. It's something that always been in the back of my mind. I always, wanted to do that. I always had that entrepreneurial, if you will, mindset. And that's, eventually when COVID hit, I thought to myself, what's a better opportunity or better time to just go ahead and take that step than now? And sure enough, we're here now. It's been about, year and a half since I started Improve Remodeling. And the reason why I say, we can serve you or provide you with the best products and service from anywhere that's convenient to you is because we initially started as a virtual company. So the first E in Improve was supposed to stand for electronic, where we can conduct Zoom meetings. And that was the idea even prior to COVID and, how big Zoom is nowadays and people have adjusted to it. The idea in my mind has always been, I want to be able to do things virtual. I want to be able to leverage technology and make things easier. Believe it or not, one of the biggest complaints in the industry is that, salespeople are too pushy. They just sit there for hours. They want you to sign on the dotted line. They won't leave my house, so on and so forth. And I want to do the exact opposite, right? I wanted to be able to provide them with enough information to make an educated decision without any pressure whatsoever. And so, doing it virtual, if they don't like what I say, don't trust it, or whatever the case may be, or if they feel pressure, they can just click a button and just get rid of me, right? But that was the idea. And, through COVID and everything else, we're here now. It's been a fun ride. It's been, a lot of challenges, a lot of successes, a lot of failures in the past year and a half. And I'm just loving every moment of it.
That is so good. I think I really like that tech element that you put into it, right? That virtual consulting side of things. Given the times that we're in, I think that's really innovative of you to take advantage of that as well.
Yeah.
And something else you pointed out there is, you said you're having a lot of fun, right? But you also said there's been a lot of failures and challenges. It's interesting because Kenny and I just did a video today talking about some of our failures in trading. When you say that, it sounds to me like you're having just when you're doing something that you really enjoy, right? You do not see these failures and other challenges like that as a negative, right?
No,
Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
absolutely. I embrace failure. I want more of it, believe it or not, because failure is an event. It's not a human being, right? And so,
Yeah.
Exactly.
to me, if you haven't failed, that means you haven't tried enough.
Yeah.
So
This is true.
you gotta fail. You gotta go through challenges. If you have that entrepreneurial mindset, you'll figure out a way to get out of it, whatever situation it is. And you take advantage of those failures, you learn from them, and you move on. And that's really one of the biggest things, one of the most challenging part with any business owner, any entrepreneur. You know, you got to be able to move on. You can't dwell on it too long.
Yeah.
And like I said, embrace it.
So good. Okay, Kenny.
Yeah. I was gonna ask something similar to that, but I would just like to go back a little bit to the storyline. So went from sales to construction, like
Right.
remodeling, right? And most people always tell you, will tell business startup owners, "Oh, you have to do something that you have so many years of experience in, right?" And there's this line of thought of people that believe that, oh, if you were not a pilot, you can't start an airline, or if you never went to school for teaching, you cannot run a company that teaches people. Can you tell us a little bit about how you went through that transition of saying, I might have been a salesperson, I know this business well enough, or I've educated myself well enough to run an improvement company? How's the
Exactly.
improvement company?
Working for a company, no matter how high your position is, right?
Yeah.
I was in charge of the entire DMV office, which was responsible for about $60 million a year.
Well,
It is completely different than being in my seat now as a business owner running a company on a much smaller scale. Obviously,
yeah.
there are,
Right.
no matter what you do working for other companies, there's still going to be a lot of things that you're not going to be exposed to.
Yep.
I'll give one example. For example, is the financials, right?
Yeah.
I was never exposed to that. A lot of things that happen behind the scenes, right? My main focus was to really make sure all my sales reps were motivated, were trained properly, had all the tools they needed, make sure that my marketing was on point, had everything they needed, all the marketing team, made sure that jobs were processed in a timely fashion, products were ordered in a timely fashion, and installs were scheduled, and so on and so forth. You just, there are a lot of things that you just have to figure out as you go. You can't, you can go to school, you can study all this stuff, unless you're in those shoes, unless you're that hot seat, you just won't know what it feels like. It's completely different. Not just the knowledge, but also the emotions that
Yeah.
go along.
Yeah.
It's a different feeling.
Yeah. Absolutely. I can totally I agree with that, and because I think one of the biggest things, like for me, when I started my business, I think one of the biggest things that I suddenly had to figure out was making good judgment calls, right? Because things will happen that you've never dealt with in a position as a worker, right? And it could be the very first time that you're facing that situation, and you have to figure out what you're going to do. You have to make a decision on the fly sometimes, and you have to live with the consequences of that. For me, one of the difficult parts was always just the steady studying, right? And
Yes.
then understanding that whatever I tell people or whatever decisions I make, I have to be willing to follow up with that. What would you say for you has been the most, I guess, the biggest shock or the biggest adjustment you've had to make, right, in this role as a business owner now?
So it's a couple things really. In this role, especially when I first started, I had no
Right.
choice but to wear not many hats, but all the hats. I was doing
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
every.
This is true.
I
Picking
mean,
up the trash.
when you first start, you have to eat dirt. And if you don't understand what that means, and if you've never been through it, you won't know what it's like. But you have to have that mindset that it's okay. So but to your point, studying and learning different things and investing endless hours in learning a new skill, or, in my case, learning how to build a website because I couldn't afford it at the early stages, right? I've gotten multiple quotes, and the lowest one was $1,500. And when I was first starting out, to me, that was a lot of money for the company, right? And so, I took advantage of COVID. We were all home. So in my free time, whatever that meant, I would watch YouTube videos and I would teach myself how to build a website. And I literally followed step-by-step instructions off of a 7-hour YouTube video. That's exaggerating, not quite that long. But
I mean, it's a lot of time nonetheless. I mean, I've seen the website. That's not built in 5 minutes, man.
That was built in several hours.
Yeah, that takes time.
It does. It really does.
And great quality pictures too, by the way.
What's that?
Yeah.
Great quality pictures, content, everything.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And aside from that, I had to realize that before I'm anything, I have to be a marketing company.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't target the right clientele, I have no business. Who am I going to sell product to? Who am I going to do work for? Right. And so that quickly changed. And, I've always been the sales guy. Right. And even though I was still in charge of a marketing team, the keyword here is team. It was a bunch of people taking care of different things. And all of a sudden, not was I just only the sales guy, but I was also the marketing team.
Yeah.
Right. And so I had to adjust to that mindset, and it takes time. But again, we live in such interesting times now that we have everything and all the information we need at our fingertips. And whoever's not really, I don't want to say take advantage, because I really don't like using that phrase, leveraging that is really missing out. We're not only in a time where anything and everything is possible for especially young entrepreneurs, but the country we live in, the advantages we have, coming from a different place, living in a different world. I'm pretty sure you guys experience that as well to a certain extent. Maybe not.
Absolutely.
It's, you quickly realize what we have here. And again, if you're not leveraging it, you're missing out. You're doing yourself a disservice.
That is very true. I think one of the things I've said to a few people, I know, obviously the whole pandemic situation has been horrible for many, and it's caused a bunch of issues as well. Sure. However, during that lockdown period, right, I've had conversations with people, and I kind of tell people, like, when this pandemic thing is over, man, if anyone is still in the same place, right, given that you were not totally wrecked by this, right? If you're one of those people, because there's kind of two ends to this pandemic situation. For some people, it was pretty much like, down and out. And for some people, you're still able to be at home and work and have a lot of free time. Absolutely. I think for that group of people, if you had any aspirations to want to be something else, to want to achieve anything else, and we come out on the other side of this and you're still in the same place, then you really have to look at yourself. Like, something is wrong, because it was a time when everyone's time was really giving back to them.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Kenny?
I would say in the last few decades, this is the first time we human beings have gotten enough time to say, okay, actually, I'm not running back and forth to work. I think we have about 6 months or so to sit at home and say, what the heck am I going to do with my life, right? Mm-hmm. And just following up with what Shay said, if you found yourself still at point zero at the beginning of the pandemic, after the pandemic, then you have to look back at the mirror and say, okay, what have I done wrong? Or where can I improve? Which then leads to my next question, right? When you decide to quit your job, because I'm sure, actually, I posted a comment the other day about you have to plan your risk before you take the risk, because I'm sure you plan the risk to quit your job. But then when you were at the job, right, someone tells you when to wake up, be at work, leave the office, and all that, etc. That goes on. But when you start your own business, you gotta wake up yourself. You gotta decide what time you leave the office. I'm sure you're probably still in the office right now, and it's like 8 o'clock. Tell us about that journey and how you got your mindset switched over to that. Okay, it's me now. It's all me.
So it's weird, right? Because to most people, when they quit their job, it's the scariest thing.
Yeah.
And I thought, honestly, that's what I was expecting. I thought I was going to have panic attack after panic attack, and I'm going to be so scared as to what's going to happen to me next, right? And obviously, we haven't really talked much about this, but I have a pretty large family. I mean, a wife and 4 kids and a crippled dog and, everything else.
Yeah.
And the card
Yeah,
on the
man.
board. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Right. And so, honestly, to me, when I quit, that was the most liberating thing I've ever felt in my life. Not because of nothing against the company I was working for, but the feeling inside of me was so big, was so good, so fulfilling. I can't begin to tell you. And it was an instant click, right? And with that, obviously, you have to change everything. And obviously, everything takes time, which is one of the things that I also had to learn is to be patient. And and I had to learn that early on, which I'm very, very grateful for. I don't know if you watch Gary Vee or listen to Gary Vee much, or if you know who he is.
Oh yeah, we
We've
know
seen his
Gary
stuff.
Vee. That's
Yeah.
that's the master of marketing right there.
There you go. So Gary Vee always talks about patience, and I always used to listen to him. I still do, but I don't have the time as much anymore. But when back then I was listening to him religiously, and one of the biggest thing was, patience. You can't expect results overnight. You can't grow overnight. And then one of the things that Tony Robbins said once that resonated with me so much was, the less patient you are, the more vulnerable you're going to be. And that's, goes back to patience, right?
Yeah.
And so, I had to learn that very quickly that, I got to take it easy. Slow and steady is really going to be the way to success. And I still do that same thing now. I'm not interested. I have the potential to blow up the company, honestly, and triple the volume that we're doing now. But I'll be doing myself and my team a disservice, and we'll fall on our faces flat. And so slow and steady to me is really a big thing. And that's really, we just take it one day at a time, one job at a time, one client at a time. But, back to your question, most liberating thing I've ever felt. And then very quickly, not only did I learn patience, but I also had to teach myself a little bit more discipline and train myself.
Yep. I'm actually looking forward. I'm actually looking forward to having that experience again because I've done that twice.
Yeah.
But I'm back at it again, and soon enough I'll be going to that experience with Shay.
We're doing it again. Absolutely. I mean, same for me. I've had that experience before, and it's really interesting actually to say that because I had that experience as well. Left when I went to start the gym and things like that, and you feel like a different man.
Mhm.
You feel like the better man of yourself, if you will, right? Because at that point, it's literally it's your decisions. You're 100% in control. And the even more incredible part is when you take that risk and the things that you're working at actually start to materialize, right? The point where you get your first gig with your company or the first time you get paid with your company, it's a very different feeling because you just made money, right? And I know people say making money all the time, but this is you just made money. Like take it back all the way old school, like you just went out and shot or killed an animal yourself and brought it back home, right? That sort of raw feeling. So it's definitely it's a different space to be in. Now, what would you say to someone that is trying to do the same thing or they're thinking about it, right? And they're kind of worried about it and all of that stuff. What would you say to someone that is trying to transition as well, something that can help him out to kind of leap out there and go for it?
So a step like this requires planning and thinking and, hours of just jotting down ideas and, coming up with a business plan and so on and so forth. And that's
Yeah.
all great and it's needed. But nothing is going to feel like the real experience until you just go in both feet and just commit 150%. What I would say to them is don't overthink it too much. Follow your gut and be the best you can be at it.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, like, you're not going to experience the mistakes. You're not going to learn from anything such as the real experience until you start doing it. And so to that I say, just do it.
Oh,
Just
Nike in
do
the
it. I
house.
like that. There we go. Hey, Nike, if you're watching this, man, you owe Mr. Goss a check. No, I really like that, man. Just don't overthink it, and just jump out there, man. You know what I mean? Just jump. Yeah, I really feel like it's one of those things, like you say, you have to build a plane while you fly it, right? You just have to go for it.
So yeah, talking about doing it. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of doing what you do. We have friends, we talk to guests. We actually used to have a co-team member,
Co-host, man.
a co-host, yeah, that
Yes.
that wanted to buy a
He's
house.
taking a break. Yeah.
It's taking care of family. Buying a house hunting with the wife, because everything that you do has to do with buildings, and improving stuff, really, not cars but houses, right? Or buildings,
Right.
right? And folks are like, oh, I gotta change the floor, or I gotta fix the kitchen and fix the bathroom. Tell us about those things, and especially which ones are much more valuable. I know you still make money at the end of the day, but for the homeowner, what should they be looking out for? Share some lessons learned and some knowledge to homeowners out there.
Yeah. So obviously it all starts as a new homeowner or new to the homeowner. You got to be able to somewhat read between the lines and slightly analyze the inspection report. You have to have just a little bit of knowledge of what you're getting yourself into. Just to have a general idea of what kind of condition that property is in, right? So that's that. The other part of it is really two parts to that. The two parts to the second part is one is the areas that they want to improve because they spend the most time in, such as kitchens, right? The second part is improve the areas that'll put more money into their pockets first. A lot of people tend to procrastinate and wait until shortly before they sell or before they list the house to start making improvement, and that's wrong in my opinion. I think if you're planning on being in that property for at least 7 years and you already notice something that needs to be improved, especially energy efficiency, meaning windows, doors, attic insulation, insulated siding potentially, things that, again, that will bring a pretty high return on the investment should happen first, because you're gonna not just improve, meaning have more in the resale value, but also you're gonna save quite a bit on energy bills as well while you live there for the next 7 years, not for the last 6 months because you finally decide you want to do it because you're selling. Home improvement can be and is more often than not very, very overwhelming, because most times homeowners find themselves with a long list of things and they don't know where to start. So what do? Nothing
They
at all.
call you.
Well,
That's the right thing they should do.
Call
That's
right.
that's what they should do.
Exactly. But unfortunately, a lot of times it gets so overwhelming that they decide to just put the whole thing off. And so I always suggest and advise to meet with a professional, whether it's myself or somebody else, and create a priority list. Whether it's, again, the areas that they want to enjoy the most first, or the areas that need help first, or the areas that are going to, be the highest return on the investment while you live there for the next whatever period of time it is.
Do you go about replacing the roof right away, or do you? That's a lot of big expenses when it comes to houses. That's why a lot of people say, "Oh, I'd rather rent than buy a house." How do you prioritize? Most people don't know nothing about houses. Oh, HVAC,
So
it's everything
yeah,
is new to them.
yeah. So I think you prioritize based on need first, right? So if the roof is old and it's missing shingles and technically is actively leaking, you want to take care of that, because if you don't, then that's going to become worse and it's going to end up costing more money. So be proactive about it, take care of it, get it out of the way, even though it's not exciting, because, you spend, I don't know, 20, 25 grand on a new roof
Yeah,
and you don't get to enjoy it. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
out of sight, out of mind. And you just
Yeah.
drop 25K on it. It's like, right? Like it's hard to justify within your own brain. So that's one way to do it, in my opinion, is start with the areas that are needed the most. Then prioritize the energy efficiency list.
Mm.
And if you can tackle more than one, depending on the budget, of course, start working one project at a time. And like I said before, get with a professional and work on the priority list together, get a full scope what everything is going to cost, and then budget accordingly. And there is always other things they can do. If they've been in the home for a while, they can, refinance, and they can roll it into the mortgage payment. They can always take a HELOC and take care of a couple of things. Or you can always do small projects such as attic insulation, which doesn't cost a whole lot of money like a roof would, but it will do a significant difference on the energy bills and the comfort of the home.
So in your case, then, like with what you do, say someone contacts you and kind of give you a rundown of all the issues you're having. You guys have the Zoom meeting and all that good stuff. What is the next step for you? Where do you go from there? Let's say, I don't know, the kid drove into the wall. There's no wall now. Or maybe they just want to upgrade and just get some more efficient stuff, like you said. What is the next step you take them through there after that?
In terms of our process?
Yes.
yeah.
So depending on the project, if it's just a straight replacement project, it's a quick, meeting, go over information, and then we'll provide them with a proposal right then and there.
Right.
And then if they decide they want to move forward, great, we'll go from there. We do paperwork electronically as well. They can sign the paperwork as we're still within that meeting,
Right.
and then we get them on the schedule. If not, there are projects such as kitchens, for example, that require a multiple step, process, such as consultation first, measure, design, then schedule.
Nice. So what so far? I was gonna ask. What would you say so far? Right. Obviously, you've been doing this for a while now. What would you say has been the most satisfying project for you?
Oh, kitchens, hands down.
Kitchens.
Oh yeah.
What is it about kitchens?
Because it's one of those things where it's kitchens, they're more involved. They're more, they're right there. The homeowner, can see it. They can watch it transform on a daily basis. And it's a much longer process. A typical kitchen replacement or upgrade takes about actual work, because there are few pauses in between when we install cabinets until the countertop is measured, and then there's about a couple of days before they can install the countertop. So there's a couple of pauses, and throughout the whole time, homeowner doesn't have a kitchen, so I have to be very, very empathetic to that, and I have to make sure everything is scheduled perfectly to get them the dream kitchen as fast as possible. But it's very involved. The homeowners live in it. They're watching the transformation, every step of it. Whereas a roof, no one goes out or up on the roof and stand with the work, watch what they're doing. There's nothing.
This is true.
Replacing roof, which is
absolutely. I like that.
I actually think Gus can have a show that is called "Where Is My Kitchen." Like, oh, it's
Hey,
just a wall now. Boom, here's the kitchen. Oh,
Oh,
here's the.
you've given me an idea. Thank you.
hey, I'll be on that show. It's incredible. I want a kitchen with all black ties and all black appliances.
Ooh,
Yeah. Hey, if you see this in someone's kitchen, man, let me know. They've stolen my idea now.
I like it, really.
Hey, would that actually look good? Do you think so?
Depending
It's
on
a
the
con-
space.
yeah, it depends on the space and the and your long term goal to sell the property. I think.
Yeah, I
It
think
can be changed.
the black appliances is one thing, and black tile is pushing it a little bit, depending on where do you want to use it. Like if it's a
Oh,
backsplash, you can always, marry back the dark backsplash with a dark countertop. But I wouldn't do that with dark cabinets.
With dark cabinets. We're gonna revisit that idea. I love it. We're kidding.
So my next question is about the huge shortage in the industry right now, because like almost literally everything you order is on back order.
It's crazy.
Countertops, appliances, even just tiles. We were lucky we got the tiles that we got them, the time that we got them, because literally everything is out of stock.
Yeah.
We can't
Right.
blame China for everything. We can blame ourselves for outsourcing all our manufacturing as well. But
Right.
how have you been overcoming that challenge? Because I'm sure that is impacting your business big time.
Um, Honestly, I can say that we've been very blessed, and I say this for many reasons. So the shortage isn't just caused because of supply issue. It's also the demand. There's so much demand. All of a sudden, everybody is home, and they want to make their homes more comfortable, want to upgrade. So they're buying a lot more, right? There's a 20% increase in our industry when it comes to product, at least. How we're overcoming it, I'm not married to one supplier. Yeah, I like to be loyal, but I am mostly loyal to my clients. So I will do whatever it takes to make sure my clients get what they want, even if that means going with a different supplier. So I'll give you an example. Currently, we work with 4 kitchen cabinet suppliers, not just one, and which gives us access to about 20 cabinet lines. Not many companies do that. Not many companies take the time to study the industry and form relationships with other suppliers. And again, I'm not saying this to brag, but those are the things that we did to make sure that there's not much of a shortage from our end. Unfortunately, there are shortages of a lot of styles, but if you're looking for a basic shaker style cabinet, which is made by almost every manufacturer, we can. I'll give you an example. Most companies, kitchen companies, even big box stores are now promising 14 to 16 weeks on kitchen cabinets.
What?
14 to 16.
Wow.
Oh, you could have built the whole house by then.
We're able to get cabinets in 7 days.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
Countertops, we can measure within 24 hours. The very next day, we'll install in 72 hours. Almost every slab color, and that's because not just cabinets, but we've also formed relationships with other suppliers for different products as well. Same thing with windows, same thing with roofing. So where it gets slightly complicated is the variety that's available to the consumer, right? Homeowners don't have the same options. One example here is, roofing material through one manufacturer in particular, which is GAF. They've basically had to furlough all their colors except for 4.
Wow.
The homeowners don't have access to 15, 20 colors anymore. They can only choose out of 4, unfortunately. And same thing goes to kitchen cabinets. They basically, most manufacturers furloughed all their styles except for that shaker, and particularly in white, because that's the best seller. That's what everyone wants. So their production line is just making shaker whites all day long. But we're not just married to one roofing manufacturer or one kitchen supplier. We work with most of them. And so
It sounds like that also gives you a competitive edge as well. Doing that, yeah. That's good. Kenny?
I would say your way of overcoming challenges is to work way in advance to build good relationships to avoid some of the business challenges that you kind of that you kind of, well, I guess your years in marketing kind of gives you that knowledge of, okay, we have to have all this in play so that by the time you are now the one doing it, you already know that this are the things that happen.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But I mean, again, all these things don't happen overnight. So I've faced a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
And even though it sounds like it's been a short period of time, but I feel like I've been through so much and I've overcame so much and I've definitely learned a lot.
Yeah.
And I think I'm one of the few that can say I'm grateful for COVID because I wouldn't be here without it.
Yeah.
Whatever that
Hey,
was.
They kind of like gave you like a head start because a lot of people were shutting down because of COVID. You
Yes.
were getting started because you didn't have the capital or you didn't have the liabilities that most of the people that already were in the business were gonna have. So you were basically picking up from where they were dumping it, and then literally right after you got in the business, the market just went boom, like
Yeah.
opportunities left and right.
Yeah. But I mean, to that, I also know big companies. I mean, 20, $30 million a year company that went out of business because when COVID hit and everyone had to stay home, they thought the world was ending. They didn't know how to
yeah,
they don't know how to overcome that. They didn't know how to come up with creative ideas to make sure that they keep moving forward. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier. You're either gonna, dwell on things and make it your own problem, or you gotta think outside the box and focus on the solutions instead of the problem.
Yeah.
And and it's one of those things.
absolutely. You definitely have to improvise for sure. Because I think even for I think one interesting that also happened at that time was while all these companies were either panicking, going out of business, or trying to pivot, right, to handle the situation. There are other, in your case, right, you were kind of like in this situation where you were really studying the situation where it's like, hey, we're already here and you have to keep moving from there. Like for, I'll say, for example, for the gym, right, there's a lot of gyms in my area kind of went out during the COVID thing. Um, but we essentially kind of look more to renting out the equipment inside the gym, right, to keep things going. And that kind of goes to that, just to that point of improvising, right, no matter what comes your way. And then it's just the way it is. Yeah, you have to how did they say, adapt or die, right? It's one of those situations because at the end of the day, the numbers don't care. You either make it work or you don't. So
That's it.
that's what that is.
That's
Now, what would you say is your definition of success?
ooh. Um, so I think we all define success differently.
Right.
You know, my definition of success is what I want to do and have I achieved it or not. It's not what I have in my bank account to me, right? It's not what where my business is at this point. It's really, have I achieved what I've dreamed of up to this point. That's what I call success.
Hmm. Keeping the drive going.
Keeping it simple and keeping the drive going, right?
Absolutely, man. I love that. Absolutely amazing. Well, Mr. Goss, we're coming to the end of the podcast here, right?
Oh man,
First of all,
too
we would
much
like
time.
to, yes, we would like to put your information there, your contact info, your website, and everything, so everyone can definitely come check out what you're doing, right? We thank you again for just coming out and hanging out with us and just sharing your story as well.
Thank you
Um,
so
you
much.
know, Absolutely. For us here, the biggest thing is if anyone can listen, right? Because there's a lot of people. I don't remember where I heard this, but there's a lot of people on Earth, and someone is going to resonate with someone. I could literally say something and no one will hear it, but when you say it and someone else hears it, and if we're able to get one person to listen and it changes their life, then we've accomplished our mission. Before we close this one out, man, the floor is yours. A couple seconds, just go ahead and put out any message you want to put out there.
Um, be grateful. Um, One of the things that I embraced quite a bit during these times is gratitude. Be grateful to the country we live in, the opportunities we have. Don't let the little things get in your way. Don't get in your own headspace. Um, you know, I had to turn the TV off because I couldn't stand what was said and all the distractions from the news.
Yeah.
I was like, am I going to waste my time on that, or am I going to invest it into growing my business? Right.
Yeah.
Kind of, you have to make kind of decisions like that. Little decisions like that will get you to where you need to be, and just go with it. Just do it.
Be grateful. And
grateful.
just do
Off
it.
the TV, be grateful.
There you go, man. Listen, there's not, it's clear cut right there, man. What do you say after that, right? Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gus Hamdan, Improve Remodeling. Definitely check him out. Until next time, Che
Thank you,
from
guys.
Brazen out.
Thank you, guys.